So you haven't taught nothing to, or you haven't given any this
Yeah.
space to your child, your son or daughter, and now you are expecting them to behave according to you. Like, where is their life, right?
They want you to marry inside the caste, right? I know back in my parents' time, right, that wasn't really a
Exactly.
thing. They just go in a room, 5 minutes, and you come out and you're
Yes.
engaged, right? That's the biggest thing that I don't like or understand sometimes about my culture. Like, why do we have to judge? My dad would always tell me, oh, you need to marry a Gujarati girl. Not only a Gujarati, you need to marry within the same caste, right?
And we know that it's the
So-
the husband's family that is more dominative, and you have to follow their side of thinking and everything, perspective what they share.
Correct.
Yes, I can see.
Indian society is very strange, right?
Welcome everybody, this is Somas India Colombia again. We are with this very interesting video, and yes, and we have a very interesting and very special guest with us. He is an Indian living in America. His name is Arpit. He is a husband of Tiamira, which Erika interviewed recently in our channel. You can watch this video here on our channel, and the link is in the description. So let me present to you Arpit. Hello Arpit, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello, thank you for having me.
Sure, of course, it's a pleasure. So, for our audience, let's continue about you a bit. How are you? Where do you come from? Where do you live? What your life is like? What do you do for a living and everything?
Right, no problem. Originally, I'm from London. I grew up here in America, in Florida. Now I live in Texas with my wife after I got married. My family is from India. They're Gujarati, so they're from North India. I actually have never been to India, so hopefully
Wow.
planning a trip soon to go see India and what it's like.
Yes. I think you are the first Indian that has not never been to India. Wow, that's great.
Now there's many of us here. We call them whitewashed Indians.
Yeah, of course.
We grow up here in America, and we don't really get a chance to visit home.
Yes. So,
One day.
yes. So, like you said, there are many other Indians also. So it's like a big community. How is life there in London or in America? Do you feel that there are more Indians there, or like what are the customs? Do you celebrate any other festivals? Like Diwali is coming, so what are you thinking about it?
Yes, so there is a large presence of Indian community here in the United States. We do have a community of Gujarati people. Pretty much everywhere you go, you'll be able to find a community. And we do celebrate those customs like Holi, Navratri, Diwali,
Yes.
to name a few. So we still uphold our customs and traditions that my parents and my grandparents, or when they immigrated over for India, they still brought the culture
course.
and the customs with them.
Exactly.
So that never really went away.
Yeah, no, it's good also to stay connected with the roots, and I'm very glad you celebrate all this. So, if it's not a personal question, what do you do? What do you do for a living?
I work in credit card processing. So I work for a credit card processing company. For a long time I was in the hotel hospitality industry for about 15 years. And then I transitioned into corporate America, getting a 9-to-5 job. I also know that you are similarly engaged or getting married also to a South American,
Yes.
right? My wife is South American. She's from Ecuador.
Yes.
So, how has that been for you?
It's wonderful. to be connected with the people. They are very very friendly, very lovely. The culture is also I like quite a lot. It started when I started learning Spanish, and then we were practicing, and one day, I found Erica using the application, and trying to learn Hindi also, right? So this is how it went, and now she will visit. She will visit here, and we will have a ceremony and everything. So it's good. It's going very fantastic, I would say.
Well, that's wonderful. It almost sounds similar to my story, except for there was a little bit of a difference, right? I met my wife, Tamira, on a dating app called Dildo, which is primary for South Asians, Indians, maybe looking for other Indians, and it's almost like, if you have a comparison, probably like a dating app like Match.com or Tinder or one of those dating sites, right? You basically create a profile, you're swiping left or right based on what you're looking for, right? And it's really difficult in the dating world, right? And especially for Indians to date as well. So it was a bit challenging, and then we just randomly started messaging. We hit it off, and she came and visit me. We got along really well. We fell in love.
She came to your country, like she came to America?
Yeah, she actually came when I was living in Birmingham to visit me when I was living with my brother. And so she came to visit for about a week, and we spent some time just to kind of see what the chemistry and how everything would gel.
And the ones who don't know about the story of Tamira, my partner Erica interviewed her, and the video is available on the channel. You can watch her, and it was very fun talking with her. Also, we get to know quite the story of her. So we recommend you to watch this video. And now we have Arpit with us, her husband, who also wants to share some of his opinions and the parts of the story and everything. So Arpit, yes, let's continue with your story.
Basically, growing up, my family is still very, old school mentality, right? Back, if you look at India, and you know this very well, more than me, maybe, you're living in India. They want you to marry inside the caste, right? And they don't really like when you go and marry outside the caste, let alone marry outside the race, right? Obviously, as we started progressing, right, and now we're in the modern age, I think that a stigma has kind of changed a little bit, but it's still out there, right? Like, you still have families that don't like or approve if you go outside of caste system or race, even, for that matter, right? If you're marrying outside of Indian, white, black, South American, whether if you're Gujarati like me, and then you marry Punjabi, and sometimes they don't like that as well, right? And so that was difficult for me navigating, maybe in my early 20s, right? Because I don't know if it was the same for you, but as Gujaratis, right? There's this timeline that your parents have just built out for you, right? From the time you're in school, right? They expect you go to college, graduate, get a good job, right? And once you're out of college, right, they start this process, almost like what you would call the dating app, right? Like in our world today, but more in a sense of like they would literally talk with friends and say, "Oh, I have my son or my nephew. You want?" And try and find a girl, right, and arrange a marriage. And I think a lot of people have an opinion of what an arranged marriage is supposed to be, or they think, "Oh my God, no, arranged marriage." But it's not necessarily like that, right? So our parents would say, "Hey, look, here's this girl," right? And then you would get to talk to them, and then if you don't have any connection in the talking or anything like that, or even in the meeting, you don't have to move forward, right? You can just say no. I know back in my parents' time, right? That wasn't really a
Exactly.
thing, you know. They just go in a room, 5 minutes, and you come out and you're
Yes.
engaged, right? I don't know if you have,
Yes.
I don't know, you can share the same story or not about your parents.
Yes, of course. Like my parents married, of course, when my mother was like 16 or 17, right? And my grandparents were like very young, like 13, 14. At that age, they were married, and it was like their parents decided, and they didn't have nothing to say, right? So yeah, I can relate.
Right. And then like going off of that, right, in this sense, right, you
Yes.
still have that in some cases, right? But then slowly families have progressed as the generations have gone on, right? Like, so a lot of times, like if my grandfather and grandmother were still living, maybe it would have been different, you know, because maybe they wouldn't have
Exactly.
approved of my marriage, right? It'll be a lot difficult because they're so old school and have these customs and traditions from even when they got married and how they went through that process, you know, and how they
Yeah.
did that for all their kids too, right? Arranging marriage for their kids. So it's very interesting when
Exactly.
you think about it, right? You know, and then also you have the two separate families within the family, right? My mother's family is very
Yes.
different than my father's family, whereas my mother's family, right? They were very open-minded and, you know, married outside of not only caste but outside of race, right? Like you have the two different families, right? Like so you have my mom's family who's very open-minded, and then you have my father's family, right, where my grandfather and grandmother were very customs, very rooted with the old ways in India, and didn't like to interact with my mom's family much because of the way that
and
the
we
family was set up.
and we know that it's the
So-
you know the husband's family that is more dominative, and you have to follow their side of thinking and everything, perspective what they share.
Correct.
Yes, I can see.
Especially for like a girl marrying a guy, right? She's expected to leave her whole
Yes.
family behind and go and join the family of the husband, right? And you still have some signs of that now today, right? And you know, I've got friends who have
Yes.
married outside the race, and the families never accepted, and basically didn't talk to them for a while, right? Until recently. So you're talking about years where they've had the relationship with their significant other without being able to interact or have the family aspect because they were kind of shut away and closed off
Very
from
hard,
the
yes.
family.
Plus, we cannot blame neither the
Right.
like we cannot blame nobody because parents also didn't know any other way in which they can arrange a marriage or they can find something suitable, someone suitable for their children, right? But eventually parents also do understand this and they start accepting, like you said in this case. After some time, they start speaking.
Yeah, and honestly, I've never understood it, right? And maybe that's just because I grew up over here. I have some of the culture and the roots, but I'm also open-minded, right? Like, so in my search, you know, I never was like, okay, I need to marry just an Indian, right? If you want to take it a level further, right? My dad would always tell me, oh, you need to marry a Gujarati girl. Not only a Gujarati, you need to marry within the same caste, right? Which is Chaugam. So she's like, yeah, you need to find a nice Chaugam girl. So, you know, all that it was like speaking alien words to me because I never really understood or grasped the why. Like, what is the need of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
why
why
can't
do
I
the
choose who
limits?
I want to be with? As long as at the end of the day, the two people that are getting married are happy,
Exactly.
right? That's the most important thing. So, you know, I had my challenges early on, you know. They tried to show me girls in my early 20s and get me arranged married, where I was at a point where I was just only entertaining it just
Yeah.
to satisfy my family, right? Like I didn't have an interest in doing it, but you're more so you're not disrespecting your
Exactly,
parents, right? Just entertaining it. And a lot of people I know do that still because parents still have these expectations sometimes, and they just do it to satisfy them, and then eventually, they find the person they want. And I think you're seeing more these days where it starts off as an arranged type meeting, but then it turns into a love marriage. And that's what sort of happened with me and Tamira, meeting on the dating app. You can say it was arranged, and then three years later, 3 years later and some gray hairs.
Exactly. Yes, no, of course I do concur with the idea and everything. And plus, when you live in another country, the customs and traditions are more strong, because these are the only things you hold on to. When you are living outside, you feel more close to your roots, close to your country when you are following strictly your customs.
And so, growing up, did you have sort of like similar expectations or things put on you, or pressure? I would say pressure, but for me, it was like a pressure to do this or do that.
To be honest, I did not, because I am the second child, and on my brother's shoulders there is more responsibility. So we used to hear every relative talking, oh, when you will get married, and this and that, and many comments. That's and everything, like my maternal aunts or paternal aunts used to, now when you will get married, then we will do this, and then we will do this and everything. So many types of jokes also, and comments also, not negative, but we used to hear it many times. And like you said, in the 20s, we started hearing it like when he was 22, 23. He didn't have a job, he was studying just, and these comments were coming from my grandparents also, because like they were happy. They were happy. Oh, my, our grandchild is, growing and everything. We will witness his wedding and everything before, we pass away and everything. So it was like this for him, but for me, like in the Indian culture, first the elder brother marries, and then the second, younger brother marries, or younger siblings marries. So he used to hear it many things, like do this or do that, or unless you won't get the wife, work this and earn money and everything in traditional families. So we had many encounters in which he was frustrated also, like why are you revolving around the marriage? Like, because in India, if you earn good salary, then any parent would like you to marry their daughter. So for him, it was like every step he used to take for life was going towards this goal, towards marriage. Like which job you will do, how will you take care of the family, how will you earn this, and how will you everything. So it was hard for him.
I probably experienced some of the same, right? And I think it's a common stigmatism, right? Especially if you're marrying Indian with Indian, and it's an arranged type of marriage, right? Parents want to make sure that both people have good jobs, right? Good education. They judge these. It's almost like a criteria that they judge. Do they have a good education? How much money do they make, right? Like, what do they do for a living? What's their profession? Are they a doctor, engineer, right? And then not only that, you have the family name, right? The reputation that comes along. And so that's the biggest thing that I don't like or understand sometimes about my culture. Like, why do we have to judge and be that way based on these things, right? Like, who cares, right? As long as you're in love and you like the person, you should be able to freely, openly get married, date, do whatever you want to do, right? And at some point, I took that stance with my family. They stopped trying, right? They stopped trying to set me up with girls and have me meeting girls, right? They're like, okay, if he gets married, he gets married. Okay, at this point, they're like, oh, he's turning 30. He's never going to get married. What kind of girl is he going to find now, right? And then, eventually, okay, if he finds one, he finds one, right? And so they didn't have a choice in my case, right? I picked who I wanted to be with. And they accepted it. Maybe not at first, but in the end, right, they accepted, right? And for me, when I met Tamira, there was no judgment about her past, whatever she had in her life, because I also have a past and a future. That's just how I always lived. And so it was very easy for me
course.
to fall in love with her.
Of course
She's
it is.
amazing and has taught me so many things about Latin American culture and South American culture as well.
Yes, of course. Like you mentioned about the Indian and everything, it's totally like this, and they have a whole process. But for me also, of course, the process is really, really, I would say, bizarre, because how can you know a person in just 5-10 minutes, or like 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, whatever it is, what they do and they talk about? You cannot know this. Plus humiliating for me, I would use the word humiliating, because they ask you first, they notice how you are, like your body, your color and everything. They even check how you look, how are your gait, and how you talk, and how is everything. And then it comes to the marriage issues, like how is the, like you said, how is the family name, how the family name stands in the society, how much they have, is they do they have their own house, do they have this property and car and everything. They verify, and then after they decide that they want to marry or not. So it's not like arranged, like it's more like
That's
like a
the
deal. It's
easiest
like a
way to
business,
describe it,
you know?
right?
So I would deal with you if I like your product, if you provide me this and everything. Very sad.
It's
of
sad to
course.
think about it in that way, though, right? Like
Yes.
it's almost a business transaction. What am I benefiting by marrying my son or daughter into this family? What am I gaining? Will I gain some kind of thing personally from marrying my daughter to this family
Exactly.
or son, right?
They check, they verify and everything, how much they are investing in the marriage, and how much we are losing, and how much we are gaining. And the dowry is not much openly spoken nowadays, but it is there, it exists.
Oh, it's
Because
still a
if
thing.
I have a daughter
It's
and
still a
I want to her to get married to somebody, then I have a societal pressure in which people will say, oh, how much you have given to your daughter. They won't say like dowry, how much you have given to the other family. No, they will say how much money and everything you have given to your daughter. And in the on the other side also, in the husband's family and society, they will ask how much the girl had bring. This much they even ask. So it's very sad, and I would say it's not like 100% bad, because people should have their parents' consent before marrying, because they are not seeing them as people, they are seeing them as something like, okay, I have to check that person, like, and when they go to the groom's house, or the bride's house, they go with many people, so that one person notice something, another person something notice, and then they talk about it. I have my experience, and yeah, but I really don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Indian society is very strange, right? You do something that's outside of the normal or outside of the box, that's more modern thinking, right? Word gets around very quickly, right? Because this auntie's gonna call that auntie's gonna talk to that auntie. Next
Exactly,
thing you know,
exactly.
half of India knows, right?
And these are the same aunties that bring you the proposals, like,
Exactly. Like, hey,
Yeah.
wait until your marriage. I will dance until 12 a.m. and I will be so happy, right? But at the same time, they're the ones judging you when you
Yes.
decide for yourself,
you
right?
said the Indian society is weird, and I would like to point out that in some sense, like, parents don't want that me or any other girl or any other boy have girlfriends or boyfriends. It's not a trend. It's not a thing in Indian society. But they do want the
Right.
grandchild in the first year of the marriage, like, yeah. So you haven't taught nothing to, or you haven't given any this space to your child, your son or daughter, and now you are expecting them to behave according to you. Like, where is their life, right?
Yeah, and especially you see this with Indian girls who grow up, right? The expectation for girls growing up, right, is you need to study, right? You're not allowed to have a boyfriend. You're not allowed to have a friend. And then immediately after you graduate,
Exactly,
they start bringing proposals for marriage,
Yes.
right? The girl is automatically gonna say, what are you talking about? Like, you didn't let me date my whole life. I have a boyfriend, and now you just want to put me into a marriage with a
Exactly.
stranger, So that
Yes,
element is
and
there
it's
too,
like
right?
doubly difficult for her to find a person from outside the country. Like now, you can say like men can convince their parents, right, to marry somebody outside their caste and country. But for women, I have not seen much women from India who are engaged, who are married to foreigners. It's very difficult. Like 1 in 10 or 1 in 20, I think I've seen, because there are,
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure. It's more
there
it's
are
more
many
difficult
restrictions.
for women to do to do
Exactly.
what you and I are doing, right? It's very difficult for Indian girls to go and
It's
do the
more
same
like
thing, I think.
the some treat that sort of like she has the whole respect of the family. So if she doesn't do what they told her,
Right.
they tell her to do, she will be ruining the family name and everything. It's a whole thing.
Right.
And it's really tough nowadays in society also, because with the more European culture adaptation, it's difficult for parents to adjust, although they allow it. But like you said, in the village area, in many states area, they do have this traditional methods they follow, and they arrange the marriages. But like when you started with Nitya, it was a long distance relationship, right?
Correct. Yeah, she was actually living in Ecuador. I was here. I was here in America, obviously. So we were started out long distance, and then, we decided that okay, we're gonna take a big step in our life, and she left her country and she came to
Wow.
America and moved here. And then we got married. We got married after that, and so in a sense, you can say that she did what the traditional Indian bride would do: is leaving her family and everything back home and
Okay,
coming and
fantastic.
starting
How long you were in the long distance?
for about a good 6 to 7 months to a year.
Me and Erica also have a long distance, so I would like you to shed your light or a small opinion about long distance. How you felt, because of course it was, I think, your first long distance relationship, and how did you feel? How were you able to communicate? Because I think you said you don't speak Spanish, right? Yeah, so
No,
how
I don't speak
the,
Spanish.
because it is totally different. You were aware of the European customs and tradition, and in the Indian, and you were living in America, but the South American things you didn't know. It was totally it was unknown for you, right? So how was it in the big? Yeah,
Yeah,
how it was
completely
very,
unknown.
how it was in the beginning. How you get accustomed to it. How you accepted the South American girl.
To be honest, it was a bit different, right? The communication, we would talk on the phone at night, almost every night. We'll do video calls. It was just so easy. That part didn't feel difficult. Although it was my first long distance relationship, I didn't find it difficult, right? Because I wanted to constantly talk to her, right? We'd stay up until 3, 4 a.m. talking. For the Spanish, luckily, my wife, she spoke English, right? So
Okay.
the communication wasn't hard, right? We were able to share deep conversations about our entire life and experiences, right? But no, I wasn't aware of what the family customs were in South America, but when you actually take a step back and look at it, right? My wife, Thermira, did growing up is basically almost what an Indian girl would have gone through, right? She was always studying, to be the best. She had to get good grades, otherwise she would get in trouble if she brought home bad grades, right? So she was held to this higher standard. And also being the eldest sibling as well, I think there was also some added pressure there. And so it wasn't that much of a difference, but at
Yeah.
the same time it was, if you know
And
what I mean.
then I will ask that: did you fight during the long distance?
Of course, right? Every relationship's gonna have their fights, right? You can't avoid that, right? Of course, there was some disagreements and arguments.
Yes. And
For sure.
now the main question is, of course, she decided, like you both decided, of course, to move to America, right? That both you will live in there and everything. So, how did the family of Tiamira reacted?
I was already here, so she was the one moving here, right? So I think initially her parents had reservations about her leaving Ecuador and moving to America, not only because they didn't know what would happen with her, but at the same time, I don't think that they really liked the whole idea that she was looking for an Indian guy in India, particularly because my wife was actually looking to marry an Indian guy in India, but she got me, the most whitewashed Indian ever. You know, so I think, you know, throughout the process, and I think she even mentioned in her video that she did with your partner, you know, she had talked to many Indian guys before through these various platforms. And all of these guys were located in India, so it was always her intention to go to India and not to come to America.
And
Right.
when she moved to America, you already had decided to get married, or you wanted to try the live-in first?
So, yeah, I had pretty much made up my mind. So I'll put it in perspective for you. So, right, we're planning, you know, for her to move here from Ecuador. We're talking about this plan, right? And the plan is we're now living in Texas. And so we both were moving to Texas. So she was coming straight from Ecuador to Texas, and I was moving from a different state to Texas. But I would pick her up at the airport. So when I went to pick her up at the airport, I made a sign, Tamira, will you be Mrs. Patel? For when she came out of security to get her bags. And I got down on one knee because I had already made up my mind. Yeah, so in the airport, I had flowers and a sign asking her to be Mrs. Patel.
And so you both had you both were, I think, at the same page, I think, at that moment, and it was very amazing, I guess. And talking, like you said, of course, her parents didn't take it that much well in the beginning. But how is your relation with them? Like, do you talk? Do you often talk? And how did you convince them? I think if they needed convincing or anything to accept you.
I'll be honest, like it was very rough in the beginning. I think there's
in the video with Erica, Tiamira is talking very much about your family, your side of family, how she adapted and how she, you know, gained her position and everything in the family, how she did all that. But I would like to hear the story, you know, this side of the story also, how they, you know, her parents said or reacted, because like you said, you don't speak Spanish, so how do you converse with them? How do you know, talk with them?
That's the biggest challenge, I would say. Not only that, right? Like really the first year of our marriage was very difficult for the family, and so there was just a lot of things going on, and there was distance between me and her parents.
I can understand.
You know, there was a point in time where they would just kind of speak to me just to be politically correct in a way. To, you know, we fast forward, you know, maybe almost a little over a year ago, they came for Christmas to spend some time here. And it was a much different, right? Yeah. Like, it's almost like they accepted me. And it was very good time, very nice, right? We conversed. And then, you know, they went back to Ecuador. And then I would say maybe a few times I've only talked to them. And then when we went to visit, of course, we stayed with them and it was nice. But I think the times in between, right, there's no real sense of urgency, not from my side or their side, to communicate with each other. So it's really iffy. Like I can't judge where we are exactly. And I know the same can be said about my family, right? Like obviously when we're around my family or interacting with them, my family is very open and accepting of Tamira. But I also don't see the same thing, like where I'm not really communicating with her parents. She's not really reaching out and communicating with my family. So if it's like we're in the same space or the same areas and stuff like that, right? Everything is good, but no one is actively reaching out to each other.
Yeah, I understand.
If you get what I mean,
They're happy with the situation and with the whatever there is. And I also do hope, and I think that it is like this, that the Amira also talks for you with them, they are good, and for how they life is here.
Right.
Yes. So
For sure.
you guys live there alone, right? Without anybody's parents in Texas.
Right. Yeah, it's just us and my daughter, Marlene.
And
my
about
stepdaughter.
her also, I wanted to ask, like, how was the acceptance and how was the bonding with her? Because especially everything was new, and for her also the country, the new country, the new people, the families also, and everything. So how was it with you and your stepdaughter?
I'll tell you, it's had its challenges, right? She's now she's now a teenager. When I met her, she was a cute 10-year-old, right? It was a bit difficult at first. Like you said, she's coming to a whole new country. She as well also spoke a little bit of English, but primarily she was lean on Spanish, right? I think Tamira did a really good job in raising her in her schooling because she made her learn English. So that she definitely has an advantage of that, right? So like really her first year here in school, she would have to take classes in Spanish and English. But a lot of the other kids that had immigrated from other countries were struggling because they didn't speak the English part. And Mylene actually spoke English, so teachers would often rely on her to help her classmates out because she spoke English. Not only that, she's smart, right? She's very good. But the relationship and bonding, I would say, is something that I didn't see myself trying or trying too hard to impress her. I kind of just let it naturally be myself and kind of let things develop. But I will say I've probably spent more than my fair share in spoiling her in Roblox cards or whatever she's into, right? But I felt and accepted her as she was my own, right? And that's very against what a traditional Indian person would do, right? Like some of the things is like, and I don't know if this has happened to you, but it's happened to me, right? Like where your family's like, oh, how are you gonna get married to someone who's divorced?
Yeah.
Oh, they already have a kid, right? Like these comments happen. And I don't know if our family members realize that they're making these comments in passing or that they know they're actively making these comments, but they'll just say it, right? And what their intention about saying it, I don't know, but it's almost like they don't like to accept. But, you look at it and, for example, my aunt, right? She's divorced, but she has a way of saying, oh, how is she going to marry or he going to marry a divorced person? But you're divorced yourself, right? Yeah. Like, so how does that make sense? They, again, right, accepted my choice, right? My wife is who she is. She's divorced. She was married before. She has a kid. And so, I think it's been good. They've accepted both of them, right? Like, so my foy came from India. She comes from India every 6 months. And then she goes back, right? She stays here a few months. And, she brought Mylene a gold chain from India, 22 karat. And every time we go and visit or anything like that, right? Mylene, I don't know if this is a custom in your family household, but anytime you go visit someone's house, right, the elders always give the kids money. And so she gets money.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Happy to hear. Of course, we should not force on children because well, after some time it just naturally comes when when it's time, because you cannot just buy the love. You can say this, right? In the video,
Right.
Tamira was speaking about talking about the families also. Like you also mentioned, first year was very hard, and I won't say it was good. It was good or bad in for anyone, or for it was like everything was new for everybody. So everybody was adjusting according to them and everything. She told about how she had to do and everything to for her and for the family and for everything, but not going too much into the detail how much they were accepting Tiamira with a daughter, or like if she didn't have any daughter, like how did you see any difference, or did they mention like, oh, she's divorced but she has a child also, right? I'm not saying that I'm not that flexible, but I think I would reconsider marrying somebody who has a child, right? For me personally. So I can imagine if your family would have said this, right? So if you would like to mention this.
Yeah, I mean, look, right? It's a package deal, right? You're not just marrying the love of your life, right? They come with a package, and so like you said, you have to be ready to commit to that, and be serious, right? You have to be willing to accept that, right? For me, right, like I said, I didn't pass judgment. At any point from the time that I started on Dill Mill with Demira until now, whether she's been divorced or she has a kid, I knew that I would have to step up and take a role, which I was willing to do. In a lot of cases, like you just said, you would maybe reconsider if a child was involved, right? Well, for me, it's not really about that. It's about the person and what they come with. And so if they come with a child, you have to accept it as that, right? If not, then move on. Initially, right, those comments and questions were asked, like, oh, she's got a kid and she's been married before, right? But like I said, everybody was able to kind of move past that after adjusting and seeing how everything worked out, right? And where we are now compared to where we were initially.
Exactly. I can imagine that if your parents were saying that only Gujarati women and with the same caste, and then you find somebody from another country, another whole continent with different languages, customs and everything, and that person has a child also and divorce also. So I can imagine how hard it would have been for you. Sometimes people don't speak, but their behaviors speak, and I think it would have been very difficult for you to be in that environment and not having this acceptance energy from the people and everything. But at the end, it turned out very well. That's very good. That it makes me content also, and our audience also, because you guys have a very lovely story, and the story has a good ending also. And now you like you said, after more than 3 years, you have been happily married and in your lives,
Not always happily. Not always happily.
Yes.
You'll learn there's a thing about South American women,
Latinas,
right?
yes.
But
yeah. No,
you'll find out. You'll find
Yeah,
out. But it's worth everything. It's worth it.
Whatever it was here. So thank you very much, Arpit. It has been very good talking with you, sharing your side of story also. We get to see the whole picture now and the whole perspective. It was very lovely.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Vishal. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you for having me. And being able to share my story.
Arpit doesn't manage that much Instagram and everything, but you will find. But Tiamira has a very good social profile about yoga, and she teaches many other topics also. She talks about many other concepts and India and everything. So you can follow her. You can find the links in the description. And thank you very much for being with us. And we'll see in another video. And don't forget to share this video. This video has many subtitles, so you can ask in this, you can see the video in Spanish and in Portuguese and all the French and German and Chinese and every other subtitles that are present in this video. You can share this, like, and please do comment how do you feel. So you can comment, whatever you think, and share your views, and they are very important for us. Thank you very much, and namaste.
Namaste.